Well, I know somebody I want to call a therapist to recommend that they set up shop over at AEW and examine it. I don't know who the writing team is. Tony says nobody writes my TV but me, but there's a revolving door of people wandering in and out, pitching ideas that some of them may not land in the right basket. I don't know.
Nobody tall. Nobody tall. Interesting. When you think of all the names he mentions, nobody's tall.
I don't have a comeback for that.
You're thinking of the names. I know you think about it. You're like, man, everyone is kind of, the same height.
Well, they're down in the dumps is what they are with this television program. We're talking about AEW Dynamite for January 3rd. They've started a brand new year. One would have thought that this was a somewhat landmark television program for them because the big explanation from their reveal of the long-running who the devil made me do it, who the devil situation that was revealed at their pay-per-view on December 30th. This is the first live television program since that time for AEW, where we assume, one would think, that we're going to hear why, and potentially some insight into how. As it turned out, they couldn't go that deep. From Adam Cole and the whole 9 yards, right? So one would think they would have their theoretically, the old saying, their working boots on it to put on a good program top to bottom, right? They might get some viewers. But instead, where is everybody that you would care about? Is everybody hurt? Is every single major star that they have either hurt, fired, or gone home in disgrace? That this is the team they could field?
Maybe Tony gave every big star off for New Year's plus 20 days.
I don't know if every one of them needs it. Hold on. I may have to crack open a bit of my own bubbly. Some Sprite.
Sprite Zero.
Sprite Zero.
Let's get it right.
Well, I've got one of the screw top bottles. They were short of the cans, but nevertheless, the first minute of this program from January 3rd was the best 1 minute of AEW television I've seen in months, and it went steadily downhill from there. Do you even remember what the first minute was by the time they got to the end of it?
Was that the recap with the Samoa Joe interview spliced in?
Boom. Samoa Joe doing a pre-tape cold open. And that's that's a television term when it was normal television procedure from the start of television to play the opening theme or whatever it may be, and then, go to the program. But then they started varying it up a little bit, and they started starting with a snippet of the program and then going to the opening theme. And we hear the theme from Gilligan's Island or whatever, and that became a cold open where we go cold into the program. And then Dusty Rhodes used to call it a hot open because he refused to have anything cold on his wrestling show. So he'd put on the format hot open. But nevertheless, that was the best thing on this entire show. Because for 1 minute or maybe 90 seconds, I don't know, Samoa Joe spoke with conviction, had great material that was delivered in a fucking meaningful and believable way. He got revenge on MJF and took everything from him. And he said, you may be a scumbag, but I'm a heartless son of a bitch. And I'll take everything from anyone who tries to take this from me. He looks like a badass that means what he says. He's a giant fucking bulk of a man. And he sounds serious, and it was a great heel promo. On a real wrestling show, Samoa Joe being the world champion would probably make a difference in the business if he's being presented and presenting himself like that. But in the middle of this fucking muck, I don't know whether anything would make any difference. But Joe, if you said, take 90 seconds of this program that you would put on a show that you were fucking in charge of, I would take that interview and leave the rest of it. That's just me, though.
Looking at WWE with Roman Reigns and now AEW with Samoa Joe, should TNA look for a Samoan man named Joe?
Well, God damn it, that's where he began his descent into missing his best years trying to support that fucking company previously when they had 10 times the viewers they've got now. That's one of the unfortunate things about the wrestling business. Joe was good enough to have been in the Gunther spot in the WWE years ago, and he probably still is now, but they've gone through so many stops and starts with him, and he's been presented in all these substandard ways in secondary companies. And, he's not a spring chicken.
Well, I mean, that's a good comparison, actually, because the sad thing is, even though Joe's done a lot of great stuff, but I think you could still say Joe was best booked by Gabe Sapolsky. And what year was that?
Yeah, he was.
That was a long time. 2005, was that the end of it? 2004? Yeah.
That's the thing, is he was best booked by a guy that booked the stuff that almost nobody saw of his. And every time the more higher profile the company, the more flummox they get about using, and it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that hard. And Dutch Mantell had it for that brief shining moment with him and Angle, and then Shitstain got back involved, and that all went to hell. But
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you see Joe as a long-term solution? Someone who, let's say, Tony Khan did book him the way Gabe Sapolsky did book him in Ring of Honor. Do you see that as a long-term thing, or should he be a short-term thing to a Swerve Strickland or whoever the next champion is deemed to be?
Well, that's an essay question. And no, I don't.
Based on also what AEW needs versus what AEW wants to do. What AEW truly needs.
Well, I don't think it should be a couple of years, and that's no disrespect to Joe, but just because nothing lasts in that company to begin with. But also, I don't think we're talking about a couple of years, but I don't think you ought to just drop it to somebody. There ought to be some kind of goddamn coherent plan to all of this, and usually there is, but in AEW, there's apparently never, or not. But the problem is contenders and positioning. Joe shouldn't be dropping it to Swerve unless they're going to switch Swerve babyface. But if they switch Swerve babyface, then will people still like him? Because right now he terrorizes children and engages in the breaking bones of the beloved babyfaces, and they cheer him.
He's never been more popular.
He'd never been more popular. So if he stops doing all that shit and becomes a babyface, then will they still like him? Because they've just taken over, the fans have taken over Tony's show because they can't make any sense out of the shit that he gives them. So with Joe being as talented a heel as he is, one would think that one of two things, either MJF, who apparently now is their top babyface at a time when MJF has never been less popular because he's their top babyface. How long is he going to be out? We don't know. Is he going to come back and that would be hopefully a big match to get revenge, or if it's going to be too long for that, more than 6 months or whatever the fuck, then do you build a new babyface? But who is that? Because how can you build a babyface when the people cheer all the heels for pissing in their fucking faces? And nobody cares that a babyface succeeds at anything in that company. So I don't know how to answer any of those questions. And I'll have a fucking brain tumor grow on the spot trying to figure it out, which is why I'm trying not to take this shit too seriously.
But but if they had contenders, Joe could work as a solution that isn't short term, because you'd be intrigued by all these matches and who's going to be the person to defeat Joe.
Yes. And that would be a normal thing you would do when you've got a big, physically imposing, dominating champion like that, is figure out who's going to be able to slay this dragon. And you could run, because who else? Nobody's going to talk better than Joe. And he can have good to great matches as long as it's not just so. I mean, I'm not going to say have 4 stars with pockets or some of these other guys, but with the top guys, he could have believable fucking matches instead of this gymnastics horse shit. So, but who knows what they're going to do, because now he worked with the top heel, but now the top heel is now Adam Cole, who's effectively a manager because he's injured, and his henchmen are all job guys until they just reveal themselves to not be job guys, which we'll get into in a second. And they're not even speaking nicely to each other. So I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what the fuck, how they're going to pull out of this tailspin. Should we get to the tailspin of the first segment?
Let's get to it.
Adam Cole music plays after they do the recap package where Joe won and Cole was revealed as the devil and Taven and Bennett and Wardlow's the henchman. And then Adam Cole's music stops. And then new, darker toned music started.
Well, not two-toned, but just toned.
Well, whichever tone. Don't make me change my tone.
I like two-tone. I don't want to associate two-tone with this.
Well, it's only Tommy. His sister Tootie was not the same. She didn't inherit the talent in the family. Tootie two-tone. That's why they had that lawsuit. Anyway, so then the henchmen come out, and all of the henchmen, Taven and Bennett and Wardlow, they're dressed in black jumpsuits and black shoes and black hats, and they have black hair. And now all their individuality is gone. They're interchangeable stooges. Wardlow always wore black anyway, but he had colors on and tights, and you could see his body. And with Taven and Bennett, I mean, they had robes and colorful jackets and shit when they were themselves. And Roddy, forgot about Roderick Strong. Did I mention him? Again, they're just covered up in black. So they're just fucking bleh. And then Cole comes out dressed the same way, and he's on crutches with a black cast. But out of all of them, Wardlow especially looks like an idiot. He doesn't even look like his Kmart thug outfit fits right.
It was also the hair.
Well, yeah, whatever they've done with... they changed the music, and so now Cole doesn't do the boom. The boom is gone.
Well, he's a heel. He's the one heel not doing the popular play along. Well,
yes,
thing.
But now, but here the problem is he's not doing the boom. He just holds up the mask, but now we realize how glaring it was. They were reacting because that was the place they reacted to, or they were supposed to. And when he got in and circled around, and Adam Cole, baby, nobody's reacting to anything. They ain't booming, they're busting. It's just, this was supposed to be the big fucking, heel group that has been responsible for all this, and people are just like, did you feel that or hear that?
I think, and the ratings will tell a story later, considering this was the big show after the pay-per-view with a lot of questions that you would hope would be answered. I feel like there's a big letdown that's felt amongst the AEW fans by this whole thing. That played out for a long time, had a lot of comedy segments that you really had to drink the Kool-Aid to go along with. And this is how it played out. Again, Taven and Bennett, talent aside, look how they've been used. Now you're supposed to rethink how you think about them. Same thing with Roddy, although he's still yelling the first name. That's not going away.
That's what I was going to say. They're still doing comedy even after this now. And he says, hey, listen to my best friend, Adam. You know what? They're still doing it.
This is one of those things that also has to be said. When he was losing his mind and he was just a complete dirty pervert, one of the things Vince McMahon got right was how to use Adam Cole in the main roster. And it was as a shit-talking, chicken shit heel manager. This doesn't even fit that, because now he's just bad. His size makes it so he should be a chicken shit. But instead, The fans aren't buying this. And
well, but also they put him in a position where he's out there trying to talk about running the place when he's crippled in a fucking cast, and the guys standing behind him have been flunkies on their television for months and not beaten anybody, or with Wardlow just been aimless for years.
And here's the other thing. If you're an AEW fan and you read the internet, you know that MJF is not going to be there for a while. He's injured. Whatever his contract thing is, a lot of people think he renewed already. But if it's just the injuries alone, he should be out for a long time. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm telling him get everything worked on now. But if you know he's not going to be there, who are they feuding with? They said Wardlow's going to go for the championship and then give the belt to Adam Cole. We just saw that. We just saw that with Christian Cage and Luchasaurus.
Hold on now. Wait a minute. Now you're jumping ahead of things.
Sorry.
We're gonna dissect that because I've got a list here of what they're gonna do. And well, no, I had to make a list. But here's the thing: Adam Cole is a good promo. He's got conviction and speaks well, and he has inflection in his voice. But he's got to have some material that makes fucking sense, right? And his story is why this whole thing happened. MJF, a narcissist, and most of the locker room is going to thank Adam one of these days for getting rid of him, because MJF would have done the same thing, but Adam Cole beat him to it. And moments later, he says, I sacrificed everything for that friendship. Wait a minute. I thought it was a plot all along that MJF would have done the same thing, but Adam beat him to it. But then he said, I sacrificed everything for that friendship. They can't get their story together, right?
That's right.
And if it was supposed to be real at any time, why was it played for comedy? And he did a wonderful promo. It sounded good if you didn't speak English because it explained nothing, overlooked all the logic holes, and didn't make any sense as to why this whole elaborate thing and why everybody in it acted the way they did. And then the Undisputed Kingdom. Now, here's what's going to happen. Taven and Bennett are already the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions because they beat... They won the swerve thing they did on TV last week or whatever, right? Even though we didn't know who they were, just two hooded, nameless guys won the tag team. Now we know it was Bennett, Taven and Bennett. It's the Ring of Honor tag team title. It means fucking nothing. They have an AEW tag team title. And that means nothing. But so they're the Ring of Honor tag champions. Roddy is going to go after the international title. Okay, Roddy is not only supposed to be part of the top heel group here that has beaten nobody, and Pockets beats everybody, but they're going to have one of the henchmen of the devil over there stooging for the fucking mascot. And then that's where Wardlow is going to go after the AEW World title, and when Adam Cole then recovers, that's when Wardlow will give Adam Cole the world title. But have we established you can do that? Because did the Lizard even really give Christian the belt, or did they do some kind of... Christian was talking like he was the champion when it was really Nino douche, but then they did some kind of swervy thing where Christian actually won it.
But they were still at the pay-per-view playing up the whole idea. Luchasaurus, it's not a title, but he won the championship match. You have to give it over to me right now.
Well, and then he signed the contract to him.
Yeah, I mean, this keeps happening. But, so now it's going to happen here with Wardlow? Because Wardlow's a jerk-off if he gives it over to Adam Cole. Is Wardlow going to turn on Adam Cole?
Well, no, but you could see Wardlow giving kind of a, yeah, sure I will. Well, sure you'll win the fucking belt to begin with, fella, and the sooner you realize that, the better off you'll be. But anyway, and then the big zinger line to Samoa Joe, the new champion. He congratulated Joe, but he said, I hope when Wardlow works his way up and is ready for a title match, you're not the champion because it would suck to hurt a friend. Where's your crickets? Yeah, that was a Road Warrior pop compared to the reaction from the crowd when Adam delivered that zinger of a line to Samoa Joe. And then he says, AEW needed change and we gave it to you. And nobody reacted. If they did need change, apparently this was not the change they wanted. And then Adam said, we're here to stay. And I thought maybe at that point he might get some snipers, right, from the audience. But instead, we didn't get snipers. We got a switch hitter Jay White to come out. Or light switch Jay White. Or slingshot.
Bus stop.
Bus stop. Oh, whoever he is, here came Jay White out. So now the devil and his group have been revealed, but they put the only babyface in this equation out of action, MJF, and now they've made pointed comments at Samoa Joe, the heel champion. But here comes another heel, and Jay White comes out wearing a black tank top and white sweatpants and tennis shoes, and I've started noticing more than ever, this is the blandest, most boring-looking crew of wrestlers I've ever seen. They just show up in whatever they're going to fucking wear after they go to the gym, and then they walk out on television looking like that. And apparently, old Light Switch here was not happy because he was collateral in the whole angle with not collateral damage. He was collateral. How much money could you borrow on Jay White right now, you think, Brian? You're the financial guru.
Are we talking pounds? Are we talking US dollars? What are we talking here?
I don't even think we're talking S&H green stamps.
Oh.
But he was collateral because he was jumped by the Stooges. Remember, the Devil Stooges beat him up one time to throw everybody off the scent. But he says, but now I'm not alone. And out come the Gun Boys, the other part of the gang, clang, bang, clang, bang, shang-a-lang. She went bang, shang-a-lang, bang, bang. The Archies.
Huh.
His rest of his heel group, besides Juice, the one we like, here they come. I wrote, who are the fucking babyface? Who are we supposed to cheer for? And they hit the ring, and they fight Roddy and Taven and Bennett. Wardlow jumps out on the floor with Adam Cole to get him situated, and then gets back in and helps them take over on Jay White and the Gun Boys. And it's a bunch of heels beating up a bunch of heels, right? And then here comes the Acclaimed music. And out comes the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, who run down, and the top heel group, who, by the way, also have these three outnumbered, bail like scared rabbits, and Adam Cole hides behind the doctor at ringside. And then the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn see Jay White and the Gun Boys, and you think there's going to be some reconciliation here, and then Jay White and the Gun Boys just walk off and leave. So there was what?
This is the worst fucking show. This is the worst fucking show. Everything's overbooked, and this whole thing sucked, and it was overbooked. It was so bad. Set the show off on a really bad tone.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
What are you counting? How many people were involved?
How many people were involved in this? And it was 15 minutes and seemed like forever.
Should they have had Britt Baker be the devil and someone could have pushed Adam around in a wheelchair?
Well, apparently Adam Cole was going to be the devil originally, all along. But Tony just didn't have the sense to when he crippled himself to say, we're going to probably need to do something else. And even then, he had a couple months after Adam hurt himself to put some credibility in Taven and Bennett and Roddy and some legitimacy in poor old Wardlow, and he couldn't figure out how to do it.
This is not looking good for the next run of TVs, this top heel faction here.
The next year or so, you mean?
You know, and in a lot of ways, it's like, because of it's Adam, it's Roddy, and then other nondescript white guys in the background, it takes you back to NXT a few years ago when they got chased off Wednesday nights. That wasn't the winning team. Since that time, Adam Cole's been used horribly. He had that feud with Orange Cassidy, injury after injury, ones that could happen to anyone, like concussions, ones that he had a match with a ramp where he jumped to the floor, broke his ankle. He's the original Kota Ibushi. And then there's nothing in that time. The MJF stuff, Adam Cole was good in it, but it got over because of MJF. And now MJF's not going to be there for a while. This isn't looking good. Who are they going to feud with? The Bucks? Who are they going to feud? Like, really, who are they going to work with? Who are they going to feud? The BCC? Tell me who you'd want to see them do anything with.
Well, and besides the Devil was responsible for the takedown of the individual single world's heavyweight champion. And they've got no credible single wrestler besides Wardlow, who is, and honestly, as we saw the time they tried it before, a year and a half or so, unless he's been in heavy training, can he have a long competitive singles match without exposing himself or not knowing what to do?
Hey, what was the reasoning again? He got the belt off MJF. Samoa Joe's the champion. He's not in their little faction. He just hated MJF and he wanted to cost him the belt, but he didn't want the belt.
Is it nice doing business with you? Joe did too. What question are you asking now? Because I've lost track of
what's Adam Cole's motivation. What was the motivation for him?
Oh, because MJF was a narcissist and made it all about himself. So Adam arranged, I guess, for somebody else to beat him and did all this to, even though he gave everything for that friendship. I don't understand. Nobody understands.
Here's what I'm going to say that everyone will disagree with. MJF should not come back and have, when Adam Cole's healthy, a 25-minute classic. He should just come and squash him in 3 minutes.
I would prefer that by the time that MJF comes back, that everybody has forgotten any of this happened. You think they're going to be able to keep the Devil and all of his henchmen's blue dresses on for the next 6 months or whatever? How long's...
If you were going to run with this Devil thing for this long, would you have run with this mask? It's an interesting look, Dave, because now it's on their, like, the backs of their shirts. They're trying to get this thing out. They're going to probably try to sell merch.
Okay, but then somebody should still be wearing it. What the fuck? Here's this cool mask that I wore when I masqueraded as some fucking fictitious person to undermine the champion. But now nobody in my group wears it. I just hold it up every so often.
Well, it was MJF's mask. Maybe they'll do something when he's ready to come back where he can go to, like, his mask maker. The person
that's
who
right. It was
him.
MJF's originally. All right, never mind. Moving along quickly, Eddie Kingston package on winning the tournament. Danny Garcia package on having a big match tonight. Pockets music coming out with Hook and Danhausen. 3 more wrestlers in street clothes. And for the dollar store general fucking title that Pockets has, he wrestled Dante Martin. Now, we had heels fighting heels. Now we got baby faces fighting baby faces. Because they can do some cool spots with each other. So that's all we need to know. And after they wasted 16 minutes of everybody's life, Pockets won and they shook hands. And then Private Party came out. Because Mark Quinn, I guess, has been hurt. Now he's back. He's the one that can jump the highest. And he said they're back. And the tag team division has been missing them. So they're putting all the teams on notice. And they mentioned a bunch of teams that I don't think any of them should have been mentioned in terms of top tag teams. And I don't think they, besides FTR, I don't know that they have any top tag teams here anymore. And it was kind of an awkward green promo while the other guys just stood there and listened to it and not. And at some points, Private Party was talking to the camera and ignoring the people who were standing in the ring with him. And that elongated that whole fucking fiasco of a presentation to about 20 minutes on national television for all of that tomfoolery. Your thoughts?
It was a nice throwback to the early train wreck days of AEW Dynamite. Everyone wondered, where's Mark Quinn? Well, they're back, and now the Hardys are seemingly not having anything to do with this. What happened with that? Wasn't Isaiah Cassidy Brother Zay with the Hardys?
Well, he was only Brother Zay until Brother Y came back.
And well, now we got them, I guess, against Top Flight, and I'll just say this. I watched the show up to this match, and then I took a break because I'm not watching Orange Cassidy matches. And it is my opinion that is going to be a growing thing. I've been saying that for a while, and people should stop acting surprised when you see the numbers of each segment and the ratings each week, because it's a bad show. Toni is putting out a bad show. Some people like it. Some people would have liked Vince Russo's bitch slap. But it's a bad show.
Dana White did an offshoot with just fat, beer-bellied old guys.
That would have been an amazing lawsuit. That's my idea, bro.
I like the next segment. Renee Moxley Good had timeless Toni Storm, and she thought that she was going to be in New York City, but it was actually New Jersey. You can identify there, Brian.
Yeah. So
she said she was going to go to Manhattan to Sardi's to have a seance for Stephen Sondheim. And not watching Maria May's match instead. Like the rest of us, I wrote, are not going to be watching this, but Toni was in Manhattan. Toni Takes Manhattan. I wish they'd do Toni Takes Manhattan as sort of a sequel to Debbie Does Dallas.
Well, that's an unnecessary, perverted comment, Mr. McMahon. But I think she's so good in her role. I just hate it on the wrestling show. I wish like Turner Classic Movies would hire her. She could be like their gimmick, their Svengoolie.
Yes.
She's talented at it. And it's entertaining if you know anything about classic Hollywood. I just hate it here.
If she was like fucking Sunset Boulevard, Gloria Swanson fucking reminiscing about the old days and pitching to these kitschy classics on Turner Underground, that would be fucking fantastic. Did you like Malachi Black and our friend Buddy doing a spooky promo about FTR Saturday on Collision? Because apparently, I forgot, they did an angle a couple months ago where they just kicked the shit out of FTR and left them laying flat on their face. And now I guess they're finally going to have a match about it.
Well, they had the match. I'm guessing you didn't see the match.
You're guessing correctly. What happened? Did FTR win?
Well, it was a hometown show. It was in Charlotte.
Oh, then they had to do the job.
And FTR won, and I have to say, it was a good match. FTR won. They got really hot towards the end. And then they did what they always do. There was a massive beatdown on FTR, and they were left laying there.
Oh, God.
Dax on his side, looking stunned. Cash laying down, looking stunned. I mean, this is the problem. We keep seeing FTR getting beat down. It doesn't make you want to see them anymore. But it was a good match.
All righty then. Well, back to Dynamite. Renee Moxley Good was talking to Prince Nana and Swerve about tonight's main event on television. They revealed that tonight's TV main event, Swerve Strickland versus Daniel Garcia. And I predicted at that point that they were going to be highly displeased with the ratings result of that. I can't believe you could have kind of tried to slide that by and maybe people wouldn't notice, but to tell people all through the show, that's our main event. That was like inviting people to fucking find something else to do, wasn't it?
Yeah. And again, I don't want to talk about the ratings now because we'll talk about them later. I don't know if you really know the actual trajectory of them.
I'm pretty sure I got the gist of it, but I don't know the numbers.
But there are people still making excuses like, no, these are good numbers, or no, they were still number 2 on TV for the night. When you look at the trend and you look at what's happening and you take out the Big Bang Theory and all these things, nothing's getting more popular. You could look at the trajectory and then you can look at the numbers for the week that all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, the bad trajectory is even worse this week. It's just they're doing bad TVs. And they think everything's great. Everything's great. Tony keeps saying this is the best run of TVs I've ever done. Wow, that was a loud one. How does it sound from over here? Is it too far away? Can you hear that?
Oh, no, that was good. But how does this sound? Because, see, before I was right up on you.
Yeah, no, that's a little bit better. It's still a little Tony. Well,
so is Tony.
So to speak.
All right, well, speaking of bad television and running viewers off, the next thing they did was Maria May having her match on Dynamite that Toni Storm wouldn't watch against Queen Amarita. So some big star power here on both sides of this fence. And I watched the first 2 minutes, and folks, imagine two newborn fawns trying to navigate their way across a frozen lake on roller skates. You might get some semblance of what was going on here. But finally, obviously, Maria May wins the thing, and then Renee Moxley Good, who's everywhere, is in the ring with her, and she does the fake excitement about winning her AEW debut, and she hopes Toni was watching and proud of her. And nobody cared about what she was saying, and then she knocked New Jersey, and she got a little And then as soon as that happened, music played, and here comes Deonna Purrazzo. And she's been an independent female wrestler forever. Trained quite a bit with Rip Rogers. She's pretty good as far as technically knows what she's doing. But even though she's from New Jersey, I'm not sure that she's a household name yet because she hasn't been on his television and people just expect her. I don't say people. Apparently Toni or whatever, they just expected, oh my God, she's hometown. So it's going to be like, Trish coming back to Toronto or whatever. People did know, but it wasn't goddamn Stone Cold busting the glass. And she cuts a promo and knocks Toni and tells Maria to tell Toni that she's going to find her because she's all elite and we're in the age of the virtuoso. And again...
Is it virtuoso or virtuosa?
I thought it was virtuosa. Well, what is a virtuosa?
I don't know. I thought she had a different spelling, but I wasn't really paying too close of attention.
Well, is that the male virtuosa and female? You say tomato and I say tomato, and one of them has a dick and one doesn't? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Gender specific virtuoso, virtuosa?
I don't know.
Come see, come saw.
I was hoping you had some insight on this. I
don't have any insight. I have not one bit of fucking insight. I'm moving along now, but the point is, the crowd chanted something, and Maria paused and then said, well, I'm not a messenger. Tell her yourself, bitch. And now we're to shit stain, back to bitch slap. And she slapped Deonna, and Deonna slapped her and kicked her, and Mariah rolled out, and they played some music, and I wrote, good God. I mean, where did Maria May come from again? Has she ever done television before?
Mariah May, I believe she was wrestling for Stardom before this, and from people who watch Stardom, they all say that she's a very talented in-ring
Stardom
wrestler.
Is one of the Japanese outlaw girl operations, right?
Well, I think they may be in-law by this point. I think they're the biggest of the Japanese women's wrestling organizations.
Nicest women in prison.
That's right. And some of them have broken out here in the States, of course. Most of them are from Japan. I believe she's British. So she's coming to AEW via...
How did a British woman get into a Japanese girls wrestling promotion to be hired by an American wrestling nerd who's a mark for Japanese women's wrestling?
Well, she was following Timeless Toni Storm, I believe, in storyline at least.
But, anyway.
I'd never seen Queen Amarita or whatever her name was before.
I thought it was Queen Amarita? Am I right?
I'm not sure, but... attractive woman, but you're right, because she was so tall and she had long legs, it looked like a big, when you said that, I saw it. She looked like a baby deer. The women's division, I mean, I don't know what you're going to do. I mean, now they're trying to bring in some talent. I've not seen too much of Deonna Purrazzo, but obviously I know who trained her and I've heard good things, but I've not seen enough. So I can't say anything.
It would have been nice if instead of just signing her and throwing her out there with a green girl, and Deonna hadn't done a bunch of television as far as I know, but this other girl is completely green and awkward, you can tell. Instead of throwing them out there and having them cut promos, Do a little package on Deonna. Tell us who she is. Give her a fucking 6-minute, 7-minute TV match to beat somebody convincingly. And maybe make a couple of comments over a period of a week or 2 or 3. Instead of sending them right out there to fucking twist in the wind on a live interview with not even with an announcer in the ring to fucking steer the ship.
Well, especially if you're not going to get just a monster pop. If it is someone who, yeah, they're going to get a pop because the people who know they're a hometown person. But if there was a video leading up to something, then it would also justify why she's in her wrestling gear and why her Titantron is ready. And all these other things are just prepared for her to come out here for this.
Oh, no, wait a minute. It's not the Titantron. It's the Tonytron.
The Tonytron. Hey, while we're talking about all this, because I don't know if you saw it.
It might even be a Tony Trinitron.
I may have seen it first at the pay-per-view and the pre-show. I'm not sure. But I said, I got to talk to Jim about this. They aired it, I think, on here too. Did you see the Serena Deeb video?
I did not. I was fast-forwarding through some parts of this show that look like commercials. I may have missed it.
Just when I'm ready to completely dismiss this women's division once again, this Serena Deeb video of her in training to come back was serious. It was well done, not too over the top. I'll see if I can find a link to send it to you.
She's a great tech. She spent a lot of time in OVW, trained with Rip Rogers and the whole OVW gang. She's a great technical wrestler. In ring, she takes business somewhat seriously. I thought that's why they ran her off the last time. Maybe she's been hurt too. I don't know what the fuck's going on with these people.
Maybe Britt Baker is the devil.
And well, that's why she keeps wearing that blue dress. All right, we're at the 9 o'clock hour. You know what happened at the 9 o'clock hour on AEW Dynamite this past week, Brian?
I think I do.
Well, tell me then.
It was Christian Cage and his weekly comedy segment.
No, it wasn't. That was 9:01. At 9 o'clock, they were still in break because they'd droned on so long previously with the goddamn, women's interview segment. They were still in break at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, showing a commercial. Then at 9:01, up pops Christian with Dino and Nick Plain and Nick Plain's mom. And then Tony Schiavone's in the ring for this. And maybe Christian might could have steered the ship a little bit better in the previous. They left the girls alone. But nevertheless, Tony asked Christian a question, and Nick Wayne's mom starts talking. And she's doing not only is she dressing like a gimmick now, instead of being the hearty, wholesome soccer mom we saw when we first were exposed to Nick Wayne, but she's talking in a slow cadence that reminds you of someone reading a second language in a Babel lesson. Kind of Sable-ish, right? And all 4 of these people are wearing black. Ever since Christian is black from head to toe. Nick Plain's mom is black head to toe. Nick Plain and the fucking lizard. Can't they at least let the lizard be green so we can tell him apart? He's green in spirit. Why can't he be green in color? And again, Christian always does great promos, but this cast of characters and the whole issue and the premise, and he does the deal where he thanks everybody but Dino, including himself, and they're going back to the same thing they've been doing since the start. The only way the lizard ever gets over is when he's the heel stooge that's being mistreated and browbeaten, and the fans will chant Luchasaurus and get behind him when he finally will do something about it, and then you don't see him for another 6 months to a fucking year. And he's in the same position he was last time you saw him when you see him again. And this whole segment was like Raw. They're talking us to fucking death. And it's not important material. Anyway, would you like to move on?
Yeah, I hate this Christian stuff.
Yeah.
Christian Cage stuff, just to be specific.
I was about to say.
I hate this Christian Cage stuff.
They're gonna clip that and you're gonna live with it until the end of time. I hate that Christian stuff. Oh, yeah, just remember, folks, you heard it here in the unexpurgated version. Renee Moxley Good was back with Ruby Soso and Soraya and the QTV girl, because now the QTV girl, since QTV is gone, she's replaced Toni Storm in the group as the nutty blonde and that's what they're saying. Basically, well, the last one was nuts, but whatever the case. All righty, would you like to talk about the evening's missed opportunity?
Yeah, what's that?
Takeshita and Darby Allin. They had an opportunity here, but because they have no producers that are allowed to produce and no booker that has a mind of how to present their talent, they both ended up looking like goofs. But this had so much potential. And why didn't they give our friend Take a good name before they introduced him? He'd never been on television before. Nobody'd ever heard of him. He could have been Tojo Yamamoto or Tatsumi Fujinami or Toru Tanaka. He could have been He could have been the Great Muta Jr. He could have been any name in the world because nobody knew who he was. And they expect a Japanese guy whose name is written Take a Shit to get over as a top serious heel in the fucking United States of America. Could they not have given him some kind of cool name that people would actually pronounce and even try to pronounce?
I think we're in the era where the people running the show are the people who love Japanese wrestling, and they think that it would probably be disrespectful. There have been some disasters, like when Okada came over to, TNA, and Vince Russo made him, was it Okado? Where he was in...
I think it was, yes.
He acted like Bruce Lee and...
Well, but you can be respectful without being a fucking business idiot. And nobody is going to be able to ever pronounce Kanosuke or is ever going to see Take a Shit without reading it as Take a Shit. So they could have just given this guy a cool name. The Ninja Warrior. I don't give a fuck what. What's the goddamn head of the fucking Japanese Yakuza? Give him that name.
No, you can't do that if he wants to go back home and live there.
Who gives a shit, right? They ain't going to see it over there.
Not who gives a shit. Take a shit. Well, not take a shit. Takeshita.
All right, Costello. Anyway, so they started out with good action. Darby Allin is quick and he does his shit well. And you can buy the rolling parkour from him because he looks like some skinny parkour fucking nerd, right? Which he is. And so it works. And Take a Shit is a great athlete. And for his size, he moves well and he's quick. And they do simple things well. Old Take gave Darby a big backdrop. And he can wrestle. They both can do the wrestling stuff. And then Darby tries to do that cannonball dive out of the ring and Take hits him with a knee lift in midair. It was a great spot. And boom, right there, you could have thrown him in, cover 1, 2, kick out. You've got the heat going on Darby, right? But instead of continuing having a match, now they go to the stuntman portion of the program. And Take carries Darby up the ramp and waistlocks him and gives him 2 O'Connor roll-ups on the ramp into a German suplex with a release on the ramp. And Darby takes the bump. Nobody is counted out during all this. Darby is not carried off. Now Take rolls him back in the ring, and he doesn't go for a cover. They go to the break. And in picture-in-picture, he goes for a cover and gets a 2 count. So they started having a good match, and it was good for almost 3 minutes. And then nobody can stop them from sabotaging themselves. And 3 minutes later, when they come back from the break, Darby immediately gives Take a super stone cold stunner off the top rope and does a cannonball dive 3 minutes after he was the victim of a hospitalization angle with a released German suplex on a fucking hard ramp. And then Take tried to give Darby a knee on the floor, but Darby moved and Take flipped over the barrier. And Darby hit him with a coffin drop off the top rope while he was on the floor. So now they just do big moves back and forth to each other. Take gives Darby several Germans, but then Darby is up seconds later going 100 miles an hour with roll-ups and ducks, and then Take clotheslines him out of his shoes. So they started with a good match. They did the stuntman stuff, and now they've gone full indie. It just back and forth relentlessly. Take gave Darby a full German suplex off the top rope, but didn't even cover him. Darby bounced over and rolled up on his knees, and he's on his knees in front of Take, motioning for Take to give him something else. I want some more. Bring it. So Take gives him a running knee and knocks the shit out of him and covers him 1, 2, 3. And what the fuck? Who does these fucking finishes? My God. The babyface, it not only is beaten flat with no out whatsoever, but he's made to look worse because he's the idiot that asked for it. Not only is he German suplexed off the top rope and still has enough presence of mind to get up on his knees and look at the guy, but then he says, "Is that all you got? Give me some more." So the guy gives him some more. Bam! Bitch slaps him. Knocks him right out, colder than a banker's heart. Beats him 1, 2, 3. So the heel didn't cheat. They beat the babyface flat after Darby not only withstood everything, but did everything he could do. And the babyface is an idiot for kneeling there asking for it, and the heel gets no heat because he just beat a fucking guy up. Who the fuck does these goddamn... Take a shit shouldn't know better. English is a second language. He's just been here a short time. They're not telling him, okay, for your own career and your benefit, you could potentially be a WWE star one day. You have the size and the presence. They're not telling him you need to learn to work a different way for the United States to get over. They're having him do his shit that he doesn't know there's anything wrong with. And Don Callis or any veteran should be helping him. But this is just bad indie wrestling booking. Lost opportunity. What the fuck? I digress. Your thoughts?
That Darby's so tough. That's all I could say. I don't know. He could take a beating, and then he just keeps taking that beating. And he kicks out of everything. I like him more than I do most of the roster. I like Takeshita. But this shows
a lot of potential that it could easily be channeled in the right direction.
How many singles matches has he had on TV since he turned heel?
We just remarked that
like the week
we never
after,
saw
right?
him. The
like
week
the
after,
week.
and then we never see him. And then as soon as we remarked we never see him, they gave him this one.
All right.
And he takes him everything he can do to beat a 140-pound guy, but he beats him flat because he's a heel. So naturally he beats the baby faces without cheating. The heel should beat the 140-pound baby face by cheating after not doing everything else he fucking knows that doesn't work. But nevertheless, speaking of bad indie wrestling, the next match was a tournament to establish the number one contender for Eddie Kingston's new Continental Breakfast Championship. With Trent versus Brian Cage versus Brian Keith, who looks significantly different than when he starred on 60s sitcom The Family Affair, versus Viking O. A four-way job guy match for a number one contender for a title that they just goddamn made up with that shitty-ass tournament. So, that took 15 minutes. Your thoughts?
You know, I like Vikingo more than you do.
Oh, come on.
Listen to what I'm going to say. Will you give me a chance? Give me a chance. I have something very important to say.
All right.
Vikingo I enjoy. Brian Cage, there's something in a unhealthy, roided up way that I kind of enjoy watching about him until he starts doing all the stuff that he probably would have done before he was on whatever he's on, allegedly. whatever the hell's going on there. He's gigantic. What the fuck? He's only like 5'10" or something, and he's gigantic. And then I don't know Brian Key. I don't know who that guy was. And then Trent sucks. No, I didn't watch this. I didn't think anyone was going to watch this. Why would anyone watch this?
That's a question that I'm searching for an answer for.
I get if you don't have the stars this week, because no MJF, no
but
Jericho.
Clearly, there's got to be more stars.
Where's Chris Jericho? That was a question that was not asked on this show, but no Chris Jericho here. Was Moxley on this show?
Well, I don't know, because we're about to get to the part of the show where the DVR freezes on me. But I haven't seen him up till now. You would think that the vice presidents, I'm not talking about the one that's in a hospital because he got problems with his guts. I'm talking about the ones that are just taking time off because they got so unpopular and they came up with a cover story that they're going to come back with this brilliant new faction. You'd think that they would care enough about the company that's paying them all this exorbitant amount of money to come back and contribute when the chips are down and people are hurt, because they're just home malingering. Anyway, so then Renee Moxley Good was in the back. Did you see the part where Hangnail Page came in and said he was mad and pissed off and he had come there to beat somebody's ass?
Actually, I did not see that. I must have missed that.
Well, here's what I was going to ask you, because my DVR is fixing to freeze here in a minute with what we talk about next. But he came up to her and he was yelling and I'm mad, I'm here, I'm pissed off, and I'm here to beat somebody's ass. And then he rushed off like he was going to go beat somebody's ass. Did you ever see him again? Did he beat anybody's ass?
Yes, he came out at the end, the very end.
Okay, well, thank goodness.
Whether he beat somebody's ass is in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
In the eye of the assholder. Well, the main event
that was one of the characters of Bitch Slap, the assholder.
The assholder. Yeah, and when I die, I want you to bury me face down so that people can kiss my ass. But then I might end up also as a municipal bicycle parking rack. So, so then the main event was Swerve Strickland against Daniel Garcia, and I wrote seriously. And obviously, I wasn't going to pay any attention to this. However, on Twitter, I had to go back and watch the highlight of that because the people on Twitter made point of mentioning that the highlight of this was Daniel Garcia. He's got Swerve on the announce desk, and he's trying to put Swerve in the sharpshooter on top of the announce desk. And he was in the wrong place. And when he tried to turn him over, you could see Swerve going, oh, shit, I got nothing under me. And they both just fell completely off the fucking desk in a heap. And the fans started chanting, you fucked up. And right after that, that's where the DVR froze because they were also out of time. It was 10 o'clock. It's time for them to be gone. So I don't care who won. And Paige, I guess, came out there and at least made an attempt to beat somebody's ass since he'd made it clear he was going to.
Yep, that's pretty much what happened. Swerve Strickland beat Garcia, and then Adam Page, of course, has a problem with Swerve because, well, he should probably still have a problem with Swerve.
Well, yeah, because if Page drank Swerve's blood, but Swerve terrorized Page's baby, so isn't Swerve still indebted to Page? Page has some getting even to do.
If you drink someone's blood, but then they kick your ass. Well, no, he won that match, didn't he?
Yes, Swerve won the match. No, the babyface is a feckless, impotent, dweeb that never wins. But, I think that, yeah.
Well, another banner Dynamite. Another wonderful, great episode of Dynamite.
Well, I know you've been waiting for this segment. So before we move on to across the street to the other promotion in town, what were the ratings on this indie wrestling fiasco that they presented on national cable on the last Wednesday evening?
Well, Jim, I have them right here. The AEW Dynamite ratings on TBS Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024, on average was watched by 801,000 viewers.
Oh, so usually it's 840 something or 820 something or maybe even 860 something, but now it's just 8. So where did we start and where do we wind up?
Well, we started with quarter one. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. A recap of Samoa Joe winning the championship and a promo interspliced in. The Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom live promo and their angle with Bullet Club Gold and the Acclaimed. 1,063,000 viewers.
Holy Jehoshaphat. So they're up over 1 million to start, but wait. Their average is 250,000 less. Where the fuck is this going?
And I actually do want to say something, because I watched this live and then I went back to watch certain things after the fact on my DVR. The first minute of my DVR at 8 o'clock is the final minute of The Big Bang Theory.
Well, I always see the same thing, and I just, as soon as it picks up, I just fast forward till they get into the AEW show. But you're right, they are lagging a bit across the top of the hour with the big bangers. Are you suggesting skullduggery is here? Manipulation behind the scenes of these numbers?
Well, I'm suggesting I don't think 150,000 viewers jumped off when they saw the first thing on the show. I think it started 150,000 viewers less than 1,063,000 viewers. That was the last minute of The Big Bang Theory. And then those viewers going to do whatever they do with their night. What else makes sense that many people every week, or not every week, but specifically this week, immediately tune out? They don't even know what the show's going to be yet. They're not there for the show. They're there for the other show that goes 1 minute long into the next show.
So what is the formula these days for getting credit for a quarter hour? Because back in the old days, back 20 or 30 years ago, it used to have to be a certain number of minutes before you got credit for the whole quarter.
I guess also, well, I was going to say the question would be what happens if you DVR The Big Bang Theory, but it's in reruns. I mean, I don't know who's DVRing it right now.
I think you could probably find out the finish fairly easily.
The other question, and we'll get to the rest of these ratings in a moment, Jim, how much more successful do you think AEW would be if Seinfeld was the lead-in?
Or
The Office.
Because I love Seinfeld. I don't, not interested in The Big Bang Theory. I've tried to watch it and love Seinfeld to death. What was the other one you mentioned?
The Office.
The Office grew on me, even though I didn't see it from the start. And now I love that. But they've been shown over and over and over. I'm astonished that reruns of The Big Bang Theory can get 1 million people when it's constant. And I don't know what the numbers are on The Office or on Seinfeld, because Seinfeld's now on Comedy Central, I believe, or is that The Office? And where's Seinfeld's on something else? But they air constantly. How can each individual episode, do people just like potato chips? I guess I do the same thing. I just put it on.
Well, let's go to quarter two and see what the rest of this show, what the story it tells is. Quarter two, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The Eddie Kingston video, the Daniel Garcia promo, and the start of Orange Cassidy versus Dante Martin with picture-in-picture. 858,000 viewers.
So again, there's 205,000 viewers in 15 minutes. So it's the same thing. This is just a more egregious case this week.
Quarter three, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., the continuation of Pockets versus Martin, the post-match with Private Party, Toni Storm's promo, an ad break, House of Black's promo, and Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana's promo. 808,000 viewers.
Oof, and another 50,000, and there goes 255,000 in the first 45 minutes, but the first number, as we said, has to be artificial, because then we come down to the 800s that they normally place in each week for an average. Go ahead. And by the way, boy, howdy, even if they did care about what Adam Cole had to say, none of it had a bearing on whether they stuck around, did it?
Well, we go to quarter four. 8:45 to 9 p.m., Mariah May versus Queen Aminata with picture-in-picture ads, and the post-match with Mariah May and Deonna Purrazzo, 780,000 viewers.
That's kind of a gift to only lose 28,000 when they didn't know who almost anybody involved was. And it wasn't very captivating.
Again, what got on this show this week is questionable. The big 9 o'clock
top of the hour. Remember, they were in break for a minute.
That's right, the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m., quarter 5. An ad break, Christian Cage and his family live promo, Saraya, Ruby Soho, and Harley Cameron's promo, and the start of Konosuke Takeshita versus Darby Allin, 777,000 viewers.
I'm about to say they lost 3,000. That's about the same, but this is not going in a good direction, is it?
No, it is not. We go to quarter 6, 9:15 and 9:30 p.m. The continuation of Takeshita versus Darby Allin with picture-in-picture ads, an ad break, and the Don Callis family promo, 733,000 viewers.
43,000 more. No, 44,000. I'm sorry. Yeah, Darby and Take was, had a lot of potential, but it wasn't anything different than anything they normally do. And these people are not caring about this program in general.
Well, we go to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. Trent Beretta versus Brian Keith.
Good Lord.
Versus Brian Cage.
Good Lord.
Versus Hijo del Vikingo.
Good Lord.
With picture-in-picture ads. And the post-match with Eddie Kingston and Matt Menard and Adam Page's promo. Oh, no, this is the other segment. Adam Page's promo also. 729,000 viewers.
I was going to say if they stayed over 700,000, I was going to say they should be doing cartwheels. So they're officially down 334,000 people from the start of quarter 1. Where do we go in the final chapter?
Well, the final chapter also has a 5-minute overrun.
A 5-minute coda.
9:45 to 10 p.m., quarter 8. An ad break. Daniel Garcia versus Swerve Strickland with picture-in-picture ads. 690,000 viewers.
Wow.
And finally, the 5-minute overrun, 10 to 10:05, Garcia versus Strickland continued, with Adam Page coming out. 713,000 viewers.
And we can obviously throw that out like we do every week because 23,000 people didn't just go, oh my God, they've only got 3 minutes of their match left. We've got to watch instantly.
That 801 is misleading.
Yeah, well, if you do what we started doing last week and you take out the first quarter and you take out the overrun, they still went from 858,000 to 690,000. But their million people in the first quarter artificially inflates them to an average of over 800,000. But good Lord, if you take the people that were legitimately trying to watch this show, they still lost, like I said, 160,000 people. And if you take the first number seriously, by the end of the regularly scheduled time period, they had lost 375,000 people.
Well, Jim, on average, taking out quarter 1 and not quarter, but the overrun, so quarters 2 through 8, the average was 767,000 viewers.
Yeah, and that sounds about more like it.
And there are people defending it. There are people saying there's always strong competition. There are people saying, hey, they were still number 2 on the night. Hey, the network is still happy. You hear all these things. How much of a decline do you need to continue to see, both in terms of what's on TV, but in terms of data you can't dispute? People tune out the show. They see what's on or what's next, and they say enough, and they leave. They're not going anywhere. They're home. It's Wednesday. It's not Thursday or Friday or Saturday. It's Wednesday. People are home.
It's Wednesday, and you know what that means.
I mean, these numbers are awful, and there's no star power. There's no star power.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is I know MJF is hurt and they have other injuries, but where did everybody suddenly go that we would give a shit about watching? Am I missing? So who am I not thinking about?
Bryan Danielson is someone we've considered a top guy. I don't know if he's going to really pop anything right now. I mean, I guess he's done good in his main event matches on Collision, but that's still a smaller number. Moxley's probably been overexposed. The Young Bucks are away for a reason. Omega's on the DL. Ibushi's on the DL. Ospreay signed, and then said he signed so he could spend more time at home with his family in England. So I really don't know. So I really don't know exactly what's happening there.
His billionaire's money, so I wouldn't have to go to Japan and actually work for it.
FTR are a tag team, and they're main eventing on Collision.
I mean, and again, Ospreay is going to, unless they build him, nobody knows who the fuck he is except the people that are already watching this show. And not all of them, to be honest. They could build him, but they could build anybody. If they tried, they don't know how to do that. So Ospreay is not going to be a solution to the ratings malaise if he's treated like every other schlub in this company.
I have some friends of mine that were in Newark for the show. They were there live. They all said that the crowd treats Swerve Strickland like the biggest star there.
Well, then they need to give him some kind of focus and direction and support. And stop trying to... They're fighting against the tide. They're bailing water back into the sinking ship. If he's that popular and they keep making him an outright heel... Steve Austin wasn't an outright heel. He wasn't fucking people for the fun of it and terrorizing babies. He was standing up for himself at the expense of people who were trying to fuck him. So, and again, have somebody try to fuck Swerve around that the people are supposed to be on his side and let him do something about it. Instead of having him do all these heinous acts to cripple people and scare children, are they just cheering him because it's so preposterous?
They like his in-ring moves, and they like his attitude, and his coat, maybe. I don't know. Not his dancing. But he's the most over guy there in a company of a bunch of people that aren't over, people that used to be over and aren't over as much, people that were over with their crowd that aren't over as much, people that were over and then Tony booked them, they're not over. He's over.
So move over, Rover.
Hey, that's
let somebody else take over.
That's from Bitch Slap. I know Bitch Slap. Well, those were the AEW Dynamite ratings for the 3rd of January. It can only go up from here.